How's it going, everyone? Now, continuing on the line of tight ends that the Packers are bringing in, since they are bringing in a lot of tight ends for their pre-draft visits, now we're going to look at Dalton Kincaid, who is now currently ranked the second best tight end behind Michael Mayer and is ranked 27th overall. Now, Dalton Kincaid is kind of ranked as the best tight end in some people's drafts and overall, but for the majority, he's probably the second best tight end. So Dalton Kincaid, he is a 6'4 tight end at 246 pounds, very, very similar to Michael Mayer, where he's 6'4 and 249 pounds. Unfortunately for Kincaid, he did not run at the Combine this year or at a pro day, because when he did arrive at the NFL Combine, when he was going through his medical test, they found that he had a tiny fracture in his back. So because of that, he was pretty much shut down and wasn't able to run at the Combine or the Pro Day. And he was actually just officially cleared recently to go out for any drills during these pre-draft visits, so teams can kind of get a measure of him. But officially, there is no record of his measurables. And in turn, there's also no RAS score for him, because we don't know how fast he can run the 40-yard time, the shuttle, the three-cone, his bench press, and all that. So I expect the Packers to really put him through some of the standard drills to find out how fast is he, how quick is he, how much can he bench, and all that, to get a better understanding if this is the guy they want to go to, or are willing to kind of let the board fall to them. And if Michael Mayer is taken a little bit earlier and he falls to them, are they going to be comfortable taking him at 15 or dropping back and being comfortable then? As for his collegiate, or more like football career, let's call it football career, it's very short. He mainly focused on basketball for most of his life, and then in his senior year in high school, switched over and played some football. After his 1 year of playing in high school, he ended up playing at San Diego on a non-scholarship, and he actually did very well for them. He ended up starting 3 of 12 games that year, had 24 catches, 374 yards, and 11 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns on 24 catches. Not sure if he's a red zone target, because there's really not much on his days at San Diego, but still, very impressive. Then in his sophomore year, he had a very more productive year. He ended up with 44 receptions, 835 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So a very productive sophomore year at San Diego. With that, Utah saw him and saw a lot of potential in him and offered him a scholarship to join their team. He ended up joining Utah, and unfortunately, he only played 1 game for them, where he had 1 receptions for 14 yards, so kind of a dud year. Didn't really do much. The following year, he ended up playing 13 games for them, had 36 receptions, 510 reception yards, and 8 touchdowns, once again showcasing that ability that he has within him, and finally getting his feet under him at Utah. Then, as a 5th-year senior, this is where he really exploded onto the scene, played all 12 games, had 70 receptions and 890 yards for 8 touchdowns. So he had a very productive football career, considering he hasn't played very long. So there's a lot to like about him, especially despite him playing a short time. He's obviously very productive, and he's got some naturalness in him. And of course, that basketball background probably plays a huge part. Like, you hear about a lot of these top tier tight ends that play in the league, like, oh, he used to play basketball for a long time and switched over to tight end, and all of a sudden he's a beast over here playing tight end in the NFL. So it makes sense of why, despite him not playing much, his ability and athleticness is able to translate over to the NFL. At college, though, he did play more of like that slot tight end and didn't really play in line, and he kind of doesn't have the size for it. And so what's there to like about Dalton Kincaid? There's a lot to like. Guy has outstanding ball skills. He's on par with Michael Mayer, I think, in where he is able to catch pretty much anything that's thrown to him. He has very natural, soft hands. He catches anything, body throws, leading throws, high point throws. Like, he catches everything. He has some very, very, very great hands on him. And he also has outstanding body control. And that might be because, once again, he played basketball for most of his life. So that naturalness as playing a basketball player is translating very well to being a football player. He moves very effortlessly. He's able to shift his speed while running, slowing down his speed, and then quickly ramping it back up And so he's also very quick. With that, I believe his quickness has also helped his route running. He is a very, very good route runner and can pretty much run almost any route that's going to be asked of him as a tight end. So that allows offenses in the NFL to potentially use him a little bit more than other tight ends. And that's where he's moving up the board. But then there are some cons with him. And there's a little bit of a longer list than Michael Mayer. And this is why I think he's the second best tight end and not jumping over Michael Mayer. And Michael Mayer is pretty much the safest tight end prospect in this draft. But Kincaid, he is relatively new to football. He's only played for about 5-6 years, since 2017. So he doesn't have much football experience under his belt. Is that a bad thing? Some teams look at it like that. I don't think it should be a complete knock on him because he's obviously produced very well almost every single year he's played, but it is considered a knock due to the fact he's so new. Another thing that's actually a true knock on him is he's not a very good run blocker. This is why he's probably not a very good inline tight end. He's more of that slot-like tight end, more of a receiving tight end. So if you're looking for just a receiving tight end, he's going to fit fine for your team. But if you want your tight end, and then we kind of ask our tight ends to do this a bit, to run block very well, and also to go out for receptions, then he's not entirely the guy you're going to be looking for because his run blocking it's not there. He doesn't have the strength for it as right now. He could develop that strength, but that's going to take a few years to get that core strength and the body to be able to get down to run blocking along with techniques because he is raw. Also, there's the fact that if he does end up getting defended by a defender that's very sticky, it's very on you, and is very handsy with you, he does struggle at times with him because he usually relies on his quickness to get open, because he's very quick. But when you have those defenders that are very handsy and kind of on you and kind of, dispelling that quickness, he struggles getting open. That's something he's going to have to improve on, and this may take a couple years. And lastly, his medical condition. When I say medical condition, I mean pretty much that tiny fracture in his back. He had several injuries in the 2022 season. He had a shoulder injury, so he's had a bit of injury, and that could be due to his strength. Can he hold up in the NFL? Because, these players are a lot more physical and a lot more bigger and a lot more faster. Like, is he going to be able to hold up? And he's going to have to get some size and some strength because it could have been a fluke year or it could be something that could be concerning. So that's also a con that a lot of teams that are bringing him in for these pre-draft visits are going to run him through some medical tests and see, is it a concern? Because you don't want to draft potentially in the first round a player that's a medical concern because that's essentially a wasted pick. But overall, Dalton Kincaid, very good prospect. I'm probably going to be an outlier on this and say he's probably the third tight end I would want for the Packers. And it kind of depends on what you're looking at for what you want at your tight end for the Packers. We lost Robert Tonyan, which is a shame considering how much the Bears signed him, which was pretty much pennies. And we're probably going to lose big dogs. So with that, I want a tight end that can run block. And this is where Michael Mayer is definitely the top tight end I would want in this year's draft. But who knows if he'll fall to us or what picks we'll have and all that. Dalton Kincaid, great receiving tight end. And that'll be great in our offense. But that run blocking, I'm a little scared of. That means Tyler Davis would get more reps over at the inline tight end. He has not panned out at all, so I don't have any faith in that. So I still want an inline tight end. And then you have Darnell Washington, who's a physical freak and pretty much is a really great run blocker and can block. And his question is the hands, and that's only because we don't know what his hands are. So that's why I kind of have Dalton Kincaid, despite a lot of people thinking he's going to be drafted and picked by the Packers. I kind of have him third in terms of how he fits the Packers in my eyes, or what I would want out of a tight end for the Packers. Because I think the blocking scheme is a little bit more important for us, especially if we're going to feed Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, protect Jordan Love so he can throw to Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and Samori Toure and whatever other receiver we may draft. So I feel like we should try to focus more on a blocking tight end that could develop or probably does have receiving hands already. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.